This is the modern Harley-Davidson stretch bagger with the big old 30-inch front wheel. Trust me, I'm right. And I've already got a video on giving her some high heels, and don't she look good, boys? But like most of you, I've got my 60/40 dirt bias tires to stay mostly on the street and convince everyone I'm so Dakar while never going more than a basic dirt trail. I have been riding for 16 years now. I am 32, so half my life. I have been riding almost 1 year off-road, and I've had this bike for just about 1 year. Instead of doing a 1 year review, I want to tell you why I bought it. So I said originally that if I ended up hating it, I could respoke the wheels to something closer to a supermoto touring kind of bike. I am leaning so heavily towards that opinion on things. But the big reason I got this bike was because I could try riding off-road, and I could try to see if it is all the hype. Because before this bike, I've never had an off-road capable bike. And right there, people are already crying deeply into their pillows because this has an underslung exhaust, like a Tenere. And this has an underslung oil sump, like a Tenere. And it's completely unexposed once you put an aftermarket skid plate on it, like a Tenere. And it has the same tube wheels as a Tenere, which of course means the Tenere is a dirt bike and this is a Goldwing. And there your tearful despair continues because this was the wrong bike to learn how to go off-road. I should have gotten a proper dual sport so that instead of enjoying the road and trying the dirt, I can hate riding on the street and love riding in the dirt. I have borrowed many dual sports, I've ridden with many dual sports, and I have ridden proper MX bikes on MX tracks. It is better riding off-road with those, but it's not a world apart like people want to pretend. But on the street, this bike is absolutely not as good as a sport tourer. In the dirt, this is absolutely not as good as a dual sport. And we know that's true because well over 95% of the people that buy these ADV bikes never go on serious off-road. Almost none of you even go green laning or well-packed dirt roads. You are using it as a sport tourer, but you're still buying dirt bias tires. You're still not buying road proper tires, even when you yourself know you're not gonna get in the mud. No matter how deeply you cry into your pillow, you will never be as good off-road on this as you, the same rider, on a proper dual sport. And you will never be as good on road on a KTM 890 Adventure as you would be as the same rider on a KTM 890 SMT. Nearly the same bikes with nearly the same weight and the exact same power plants, just the wheels and brakes being tweaked for the road. You will be fundamentally better. And while about 50% of the audience is already weeping into their pillows and destroying their keyboards to yell at me, every pro rider who watches this channel is nodding their head saying, of course, and we don't know how so many people don't realize this. What I am taking biggest issue with in this, all the internet hype around these bikes is focused purely on how they do off-road. How close can they get to being an overpowered, overweight, top-heavy, oversized dual sport when they are fundamentally not. We've taken a sport bike engine in a sport bike chassis and given it taller suspension and off-road bias wheel sizes to compromise the road handling, and then we have to tamper it all down, make it too hard to drop and too dangerous to drop and ride by yourself off-road, with the exception of the most experienced people. And lots of people are getting hurt doing it. To the 1% of you out there where this makes perfect sense, where a bike like this, bike like a Tenere, even a big old GS or Africa Twin, makes sense for you because you do want a sport tourer that you can take in the proper off-road, congratulations. You've crippled the entire market with internet hype to make it so I have to buy this, even if I don't want to. Show me the sport touring bikes in this engine capacity, in this size. There isn't one. Everything has to be an ADV bike. Take this engine specifically, or take the MT-07. There's no Tracer 7 in Japan, so you have to get an MT-07 or a Hornet, or you have to get an ADV bike. Either way, not getting the bike that 99% of riders would be so much happier on. And I ride with quite a few people who have ADV bikes. I'm the only one going in the dirt, but they all have Shinko 804, 805s. They all have Bridgestone Battle Axe, and there are so much better tires for these people because they ride them like sport bikes. Most of these ADV tires, when people say they're great on the street, that's because they're dirt riders who are not very good on the street themselves, on bikes that are not very good in the first place on the street. And people on much more powerful bikes with much better suspension, much better brakes can't keep up with me. And I'm telling you, I am a worse street rider because of what this bike has. So let's continue this whining in the dirt. Now, I just said you can't ride it alone, you can't go into anything too serious. This is about as serious as I would ever go off-road. This is just the beginning of the trail. Trust me, it gets quite a bit more impressive as it goes on. Going by myself this one time, people know where I am, and I have cell service the whole time. And so why we're continuing here? Well, first off, I don't hate riding in the dirt, but I don't like that I have to do it with a 21-inch front wheel because there are so few options with a 19. The Suzuki, by the way, came to Japan after this bike came out. It's a hotter bike, it's a heavier bike, it has to lose the suspension travel and all the adjustability. Really, I just want this bike to look at the Africa Twin Adventure Sport and say, maybe we now have an ADV bike that makes sense. But the vast majority of you would not follow me down even this trail once it gets a little more rocky. Even though you deep down know that, you still require your bike to have that 21-inch front, that 18-inch rear, instead of a 1917 like the GS. The GS is the ultimate of adventure bikes. It's the best seller. Somewhere like India, KTM's probably not getting dethroned with their 390 anytime soon. And you've got to wonder how much of the road bias are they sacrificing with the new updates to the KTM, but I believe they're keeping a 19 option. I wonder which will sell better and which will have a higher customer satisfaction. But everything I do with this bike, people on small 155 dual sports on 1917 wheel combinations are doing just as good, if not significantly better. So I know this bike would be able to do everything I do. To answer the tears filling the comment section, you'd push harder if you were on a dual sport. Not true. I've been on dual sports, and what I learned is I can go further than I do go, but I don't want to. I am not having more fun in the dirt. Similar fun sometimes, and then I have a lot of times where, boy, I really don't want to be here. If it rains, I don't go in the dirt for 3 days. Some of you want to go in the mud. You want to slip and slide and fall and possibly break a leg. Oh, there's my leg. And that's great for you. But I would say the only times I've done that, YouTube content. And we have to do what gets clicks. Otherwise, we don't get views, we don't get money, we don't get sponsors, we don't get advertisers. The very fact that I'm putting this video on my channel is gonna kill the channel. Sponsors aren't gonna wanna play with me because I'm not gonna push their stuff to the ultimate limit. I'm not gonna say, you need this because if you don't have this, you will get shot and murdered and pillaged. Or whatever happens if you don't have upper crash bars on a GS. How are you going to crash in a way where the upper crash bars are going to make any functional difference? Let's be honest, pretty much no one is hitting 100 kilometers an hour in the dirt on a GS. Unless it's like the flat open deserts, I'd be shocked if anyone could hit that on any of these adventure bikes, even on dual sports. That's impressive to me. You look at the GS, all the stuff it's doing, it is adventure fashion. Because most of you do better on the RT, but when you see these GSs that are fully kitted out for full combat to park at a Starbucks or just go on moderate dirt riding, it just reminds me of those guys I saw at high school who were on those 4x4 Jeeps with wheels the height of me, and they're jacked all the way to the moon, and they are polishing their chrome. This is a fashion show. This is reminding everyone not to look below the belt because I'm huge. Take my word for it. I'm not compensating for anything. I'm not spending shocking amounts of money to ruin my performance. It is the Americana where everybody needs to be in an SUV when all of these people would be safer in a hatchback, have the same amount of storage in a hatchback, have better fuel economy, better power to weight ratio, better brakes, better road performance. And on the dirt road you might hit, it's still gonna do it. Don't believe me? Stop this video, watch a 5-minute clip of Rallycross, and then come back and find out how wrong you are. I think the internet hype is destroying motorcycles. I think if you come to Japan, you will notice tons of people are still buying super sports. If they're getting tours, they're getting sport tours. The ADV bike is few and far between. As much as I hate Yamaha for not offering all the really good Teneres here, and we were lucky to get stock 5 years after Europe, I do understand why they don't bring it here, because people don't really buy it. They bought the Tenere for the internet hype, but I know a lot of people on Teneres who are not happy. Because if you aren't going off-road with your Tenere, I'm not 100% sure why you have a Tenere, because it's not a very good road bike. If you think it's a good road bike, you're not pushing that hard, and you're probably like some of the people I meet who do ride off-road mostly on much smaller bikes. Give me a second to get through these rocks, guys. All right. But yeah, I have ridden with people who they end up, see, almost lost the front on rocks here. When we're back on the streets, these guys are shocked because I'm leaning into the turns. I'm moving my body in ways. And, you know, a lot of you guys know body position is huge on or off-road. People that say it matters so much more off-road, you're not going that fast. If you're riding at the limit of what the bike can do, by the way, this is the turn where I crashed last year, so I'm just gonna kind of walk it. Forgive me. I'm alone, and that hurt like hell. Like, these people were shocked how much body position I was using, and despite a lot of them being on more powerful bikes with better suspension, better brakes, they'd never catch me. But the sport bike riders I ride with, I'll never catch those guys. There is such an emphasis on how does it do in the dirt. It's like smartphones, everything's the camera. Like, yeah, I guess, but I'm not a photojournalist. How about the screen, the processor, the battery life? The fact that, am I gonna have to replace it in a year because one part goes wrong that I didn't even need? I would never buy an SUV. And if you see me in an SUV, someone else owns it and I'm just with them. But I bought this bike to figure out what all the hype was. And I'm not having fun. But you know, if I had to pick this every day or pavement every day, I'd be on a Tracer. And give me a second to get through this and then we'll keep talking. Because this looks scary to a lot of you, and I promise the camera is doing it no justice. All right, here we go. And get into it. Get into it. Yeah. And we're still not out. I mean, you spend so much more money on ADV bikes than road bikes. The very nature of an ADV tire, you have to get dramatically worse tread life than a road tire, or you have to get dramatically worse performance. There are leading edges, so you have to throw away tires that have plenty of tread because they don't work off-road anymore, though they still work, be it rumbly, but on the street, and you just have less rubber on the road. Like, this is just simple logic that a lot of you will fight me in the comments. You will be weeping deeply about how, no, it's because of there. You'll be complaining that these tires that last forever from their super hard compounds are great on the street. And then I see you riding and no, you're just not pushing it. You can get really good road tires, like Michelin Road 5, Road 6. There's really not a lot of compromise there in every condition. And you could take it to a track. I'm getting winded. I will extend the olive branch and say there's one thing that is absolutely amazing about riding off-road. Unquestionably, traffic and the police. I don't think there's a cop hiding around this corner, so I'll go as fast as I'm comfortable. There's not going to be a cop hiding around the corner. Now, traffic coming the other way, I know people that are much better riders than me, and they could be coming in the other direction around those blind turns. This is single track at a lot of spots. So can we stop quick enough to safely not smash head on into each other? At least on the street, typically people are staying in their lane, unless you live in Osaka City. Here we go. Bump to bump. You know, I'm not bashing the whole thing. I'm not saying I'm not having fun. I am. And now that I have done off-road, I like it. But the amount that I'm compromising for the street, no matter what you say, no matter what type of tears you cry into which brand of pillow, part of this bike letting me down on the street is the suspension. That just is true. But a bigger part is definitely the wheel sizes. That was obvious from the first time I rode the bike. And the other thing is the tires. To be comfortable doing stuff like this, especially to be comfortable doing it alone, the tires I have to choose, they're gonna expire like crazy just to get close to road tire performance. The best ones I've experienced are still not road tires, or they're just gonna be a big sacrifice. I can't wait for the Motos to wear out. It cannot keep up with me on the street. Far better in the dirt than I'll ever want to be. But that's the thing. What I learned, and what a lot of you need to feel like it's okay to say out loud, if I sold this and got a DRZ or a CRF or any kind of dual sport, those bikes can go further, more dramatically off-road than what I'll ever be able to do on this. However, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to push harder than what I already do on this bike. Even if I was on a bike that could, I personally can't, and personally just don't have the interest. If you do, more power to you. Because there are extremes in every conversation. Some of you are proof that I'm completely wrong. But you also need to remember, you're a hyper minority. Because as much as you may be saying I'm a terrible off-road rider, by Adam Rieman's standards, absolutely. But when you look at the whole spectrum, everyone taking these mid-size and big adventure bikes off-road, I'd say I'm in the upper half. Remember, like 90% don't even show up. So just by parking here for a photo op, I am ahead of well over half of the big ADV riders. So that's my whinging, that's my complaining. Feel free to agree, feel free to disagree. Head into the comment sections. As I said, this is the Harley stretch bagger. There's a rock under the stand. It's compromised everywhere. It doesn't do what it needs to do. It does, just not as good as it could. And it could do as good as 95% of ADV riders would do with a 19-inch front wheel, and it'd be so much better on the road. Honda built a halfway house. This is probably the perfect example of all the compromises. Their electronics don't let you do anything. I shut the electronics off way back at the start so that they don't flip back on a million times here. If I drop the bike and have to kill it and turn it back on for the fuel injectors, it does it all again. And that's the regulations there are now. Now that's Europe's fault. But the fashion show of the ADV bike is just getting a bit silly to me. Feel free to disagree, but most of you do so much better on a Tracer. On an 890 SMT, I can't believe that bike's not selling better. That's the one bike that I was definitely thinking, KTM's can't be that bad, because no one can make this bike but them. But, till next time, if this video even goes up, that's me. Like, subscribe, share, do all those things, or don't. Feel free not to. Bye-bye.